Hey there, it's me, Josh from Clear and Loud. This era of my life is all about the freedom found in being able to grow, tell new stories, and create new things. And that's exactly what I do through my company, Clear and Loud. Yes, it's not just a podcast. We are a boutique creative agency that helps entrepreneurs, authors, and big thinkers launch their world changing ideas into reality. So, whether it's crafting a website that connects with your audience, developing a podcast that amplifies your voice, or implementing systems that streamline your business, we've got the expertise to make it happen. We don't just tackle projects. We like to say we ignite momentum. We're all about big launch energy. So we work alongside you to clarify your strategy, capture attention with compelling storytelling, and supercharge your growth with the right tools and technology. So, whether you're a company that needs a little added firepower or a solopreneur who doesn't want the hassle of managing a bunch of freelancers, if you're ready to take the next big step and to turn your vision into an unforgettable reality, reach out to us at Clear and Loud. Let's hop on a free strategy call and get that big launch energy flowing. Go to www.clearandloud.com. You've got a story to tell, and we'll help the world hear it. I'm Josh Harris, and you're listening to Clear and Loud, a podcast about the ideas, stories, and voices that are shaping our world. Hey friends, welcome back. Today on the Clear and Loud podcast, we are going deep. We are peeling back the layers of something quite intriguing, internal family systems, or IFS. Do you know about internal family systems? I'm new to this, so I'm a rookie here, but I've been blown away by what I've been learning and what I learned in this conversation on today's episode. So here's the question I have for you. Have you ever felt disconnected from yourself or struggled to understand the different parts of who you are? Well, today I'm talking to April Sunshine Hawkins, a woman who has one of the coolest names of anyone I've ever met. But she is going to talk about how internal family systems can help you reconnect with your true self and heal the hidden parts of yourself that impact your daily life. This is pretty mind-blowing, but I think you're really going to enjoy this. Let me tell you a little bit about April. She is the co-host of the Story Brand podcast. We go way back in Story Brand, and she opens up in our conversation about her journey and about how internal family systems has transformed her approach to mental wellness and personal growth. And so if you're looking for a way to better understand and embrace all the parts of yourself, this conversation is a must listen. We're also going to talk about pickleball and Story Brand, and oddly enough, both those things weave into the main topic. But tune in and discover how IFS might be useful to you and might lead to a more fulfilling and connected life. Here's my conversation with April. April, welcome to the Clear and Loud podcast. It's so great to have you on the show.
Oh my goodness. I am so honored to be here. Thank you for asking me to spend some time with you.
I've really been looking forward to this. I asked you to come on the show because I want to learn specifically about internal family systems. So that's going to be our main focus.
I'm pumped.
What it is, how it functions, how it can help people, because there's a lot I want to learn from you. But I want to start by talking about two things that we have in common. We probably have more things in common than this, but the two things that rise to the top of the list are pickleball and Story Brand.
Oh yeah.
And so I want to ask, how often do you play pickleball, and can you
Oh
beat
my
the senior citizens in their 70s? Because
Oh
I
my
cannot.
goodness. Well, number one, I go through phases in my pickleball journey. Like there was the obsessive period, which
Yes.
I'm an Enneagram 3 at times, and that is somebody who likes to win. Show me how to win, and I will learn all the ways to do all of the moves. And at one day I played 8 hours of pickleball, and I was
Oh,
like,
I love it.
okay, April, this is not your job. Like, what are we doing here? So that was my most obsessive time in my life. But nowadays I'm playing, uh, once a month, definitely on vacation. I played a
Oh, yeah.
lot
So
with my
good. Yeah.
husband Brent,
Oh, I
and
love it.
and now that it's winter time, I think I might get back into it because it's just such a great way to stay
Do you have
active.
you're in Nashville, right?
That's right.
Do you have good indoor pickleball courts or can you play outside right now in Nashville?
Well, right now the weather has been, intense and lots
Oh,
of rain, lots of rain.
okay.
So, we have been playing indoors, and
Oh, I'm
there's
so
a
jealous.
great spot, Music City Pickleball. It's like a
Oh,
member
man.
run organization, and it's open play every day from 8 to noon. And so you can
Oh,
just show
man.
up and put your paddle in whatever level that you're on. And that is a really, really cool crew and cool
It's so fun.
community.
It's such a great way to meet people and interact with people.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
that aspect of pickleball. How do you and Brent do as a team? Do you play together and does that
Oh,
work
yeah.
well or does that
Oh,
lead
yeah.
to major relational issues?
No, well, I mean, we've definitely had some conversations.
Okay.
But we are a good team. I mean, we're a good team in life,
Yeah.
and, whatever you show up with in your life, that is gonna show up also on the pickleball court. That's if you're playing singles or if you're playing doubles. But yeah, no, we make a really good team. He has a tennis background, and so
Okay, yeah.
he is so good, and
Oh,
I
that's fun.
enjoy having him on my team
I
because,
love it.
again, I love to win. So we have a really good time.
By the end of this conversation, I'm really curious if we're going to be able to like bring all these things full circle and figure out if there is a way that internal family systems could actually help you work through issues in your
Oh, yeah,
pickleball game.
there's no
Who
doubt.
knows? There are
I
all kinds of
mean,
coaching synergies here.
yes, if any pickleball people out there need a mental coach to come
Yes.
help them, internal family systems definitely can help out.
I love it. Well, besides pickleball, we also have StoryBrand in common. And for
Yes.
those who don't know, StoryBrand is a marketing framework created by Donald Miller that helps businesses be more clear in how they communicate what they do, more effective in reaching their clients. And I've been using that framework in my company, Clear and Loud, for ever since I started. I love it. I use it all the time. Um, you've actually been a deeper part of StoryBrand in terms of actually being on staff and being kind of the face of the brand in many ways, and the podcast and so on. What do you do with StoryBrand?
Oh,
What's your story with
man.
StoryBrand?
Well, my story with StoryBrand, it started with the very first certification that they offered. Actually, it started with the podcast, like back when it was building a story brand with Don and
Yeah.
JJ, and I was listening to it, and I was in Fort Worth, Texas, working at my computer. I was like helping people with their websites and with their social media, and
Yeah.
just throwing marketing spaghetti against the wall and hoping that it stuck. And I heard Don and JJ talking about this story brand framework. And I went, ding, 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 this makes so much sense. Like,
Oh,
of
that's so cool.
course.
Yeah.
And I have a teaching background. And I was like, I wanna teach this to people because it's been so helpful to me. I
Yeah.
immediately want to turn and teach. And so I went through their certification, and then I became what I call a pleasant pest, like a butterfly that just like flits and floats around until they gave me a full-time job.
That is
And
awesome.
I jumped in with the company, and I've done a bunch of different jobs for them. Love, 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 what they're all about. And now I'm like full circle back to being a teacher, speaker, facilitator for them. And then I'm on the Marketing Made Simple podcast with JJ.
That is
And
so cool that
yeah,
all those years ago you heard that podcast and now you are the podcast.
I know. It is like, it's such a great joy in my life. And it's just a little playground that JJ and myself and Bobby, our producer, get to play in. And
That's so
I don't know if you
amazing.
feel similarly about your podcasts. Like, this is just a playground for me to come and
It's
have the
so much
conversations that
fun.
I want
Fun.
to
Yeah.
have.
That's so great. That's really cool. Okay. So now we can talk about internal family
Let's
systems.
do it.
Um, one of the things that we learn in StoryBrand is how to give an elevator pitch for an idea. So not to put you on the spot, but what would your simple 30-second explanation be for internal family systems? It doesn't have to be a perfect StoryBrand elevator pitch, but I just mean, like, how would you
Yeah.
explain that to somebody that's never heard of it?
Well, there are many times in life where we feel stuck
Mm,
because we cannot figure out something, or we're afraid of something, or something is holding us back
yeah.
in our life. And we become curious about it enough to then engage with something like internal family systems, where we dive deep inside and we get to
Mm,
know what's going on. What
mm,
is it that I am carrying from my past inside that's hurt? What's protecting me? What's showing up and protecting me?
mm.
And then how can I work with these parts to really have, compassion for myself and creativity in my life, so that I don't have to stay in that stuck place, and I can either move forward or be more of the human I want to be in the world, or have the courage to leave the relationship or the job that's just not working for me anymore. So, internal family systems is a model that helps people go in, explore, and be able to find some really good energy to lead themselves towards the life they want to live.
That's great. That's a great elevator pitch.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. And I don't know if it's like, I don't know if it's what Dick Schwartz would say, but like that's the, problem, solution, success
Yeah,
piece that I've
exactly.
experienced and that I
Right.
have witnessed in so many other people as well.
And so, Dick Schwartz, you mentioned, he is the creator of internal family systems.
That's
He's written
right.
books about this, and then he trains people and so on. It's a
Yeah.
relatively, like, new system that people are
So
using.
he's been working on it for 40 years.
Wow.
40 years. So in the time space continuum, 40 years ago is not that long ago. Uh, or it's a relatively, short
Yeah,
time
right.
for
But
us
he's been
living on
working
this
at
earth
this. He's been refining this for 4
for
decades.
40 years. And it has just recently caught fire. Like,
Mm,
it's everywhere. People
yeah,
are talking about it and sharing it and wanting to be trained. And there are
yeah,
thousands of people who want to go through their certification, and they like don't have enough facilitators to
yeah.
meet the demand, because they're trying to keep the ratios really small, because the training is
Interesting.
basically you doing a lot of your own internal
Yeah.
family systems work. And so, yeah, it's an incredible,
Well,
powerful
that's
model that he's been
it's
refining.
helpful to hear. It's helpful to hear you explain that it's really taken off in a big way, because it does seem like I'm just hearing about it all over the place. Um, and with new things like that, there can always be this, like, curiosity, skepticism, what's really going on there. But I hear different words to describe it. Like, therapists can incorporate it into the work they do with their clients, but then it sounds like you use the word facilitator, so you don't have to be a therapist to use this and help people. So what are, like, the different expressions of it, like this model of thinking about the
Yeah.
self?
I mean, they love for anybody in the mental health
Mm,
system
yeah.
to come and utilize this. But yeah, I mean, people who are dance teachers can utilize this. People who are
Whoa.
in the pastoral care space
Mm,
use this. And really, this is something that I've been wanting to learn about just for my own knowledge and purpose in
right,
educating
right.
myself and helping me continue to build my emotional well-being foundation for my life.
Yeah,
And so I think that that's the other reason why it's taken off so much
yeah,
recently and it's caught fire is because it's a model that you don't feel like you have to go to, 2 years of school to become a
right.
therapist to understand it. Once
Yeah.
you wrap your head, or once I wrap my head around all of the concepts, it was similar to the
Mm,
story brand framework where I was just like, this makes so much sense to me. Like
yeah, yeah.
my system understands this, and there
Mhm.
are parts of me that really, really enjoy understanding. And
Yeah,
this model, it's one that is easily understood.
that's really good. Well, I wanna just, confess that when I first heard about internal family systems, I completely misunderstood what it was referring to. And maybe, maybe from a marketing perspective, we would say if we could start over, it's maybe not the clearest name.
Agreed.
But
Agreed.
when I first heard it, I wrongly assumed it was about how you relate to, like, your nuclear family, like the family systems of your parents and your siblings and your children, but that's not the family system that's being described at all, is it?
Right. It is the family system that lives within you. And then there is the extension. The system does extend to
Right.
family. And we can, even get in and talk about like how parts in me then also, are affecting parts
Right.
in my mom or my dad or my sister. And those are all interacting together as well. So it does extend out because of course we're all connected. But you are correct, like the like core tenets are you going inside of you and
Right.
learning about all of the different parts that are inside that are there to help protect,
Mm.
and also the parts that have been hurt and are going, oh no, 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 we're never going to let that happen again, like
Right. Yeah.
we're going to go into hiding or whatnot. And so that is the internal family system that Dick Schwartz is mainly talking about for sure.
So fascinating. Well, will you kind of dive a little deeper in explaining IFS? If I were coming to you as someone completely uninitiated and you did a great elevator pitch, so I really, I really appreciate that. I think it's really helpful. But how would you talk about, even that the concept of those parts? Like, give me a little bit more to understand, like, here's what it's going to look like for you, Josh, to benefit from this model, and here's how you start thinking about yourself, and here's kind of the a little bit of the framework that begins to unlock things.
Yeah. So some practitioners and therapists, if you enter into an internal family systems session with them,
Hmm.
they would not go through explaining anything.
Oh,
They
really? Okay.
would they would just go, "Hey, we're going to get started and we're going to, get to know what's going on. Why don't you
Yeah.
tell me?" And just especially if there's trust
Yeah.
already there.
Yeah.
So I just want to state that because that some people listening might be like, you know what, I'm curious enough without listening to anything else about this, and I just want to go do it.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so
Yeah.
like
You don't have
feel
to, like,
free.
perfectly understand all the
No,
aspects of it to step in. You don't have to prep for it.
no, there's no prep work required because the parts are there and they're going to come up anyway. And I will answer your question because like you, I tell me all the things. Like, give me the information. I
Yeah.
want to understand it. And because then I feel like, ooh, like I have parts that love the information. They can wield it in a lot of different ways. So
Uh,
there are some core tenets of
mm,
internal family systems, and we'll talk about the three kind of core concepts, if you will.
okay, I love it.
So the first is that inside of us, we have protector parts. These are
Mm,
parts that are working on our behalf. They help take care of our system. We need them in our life to help us eat and to help
mm,
us find where to live and to like all of the, find a job and socialize. And so we
mm,
have a lot of these manager parts that are proactively working for us, and they are protectors because just like in StoryBrand, we are wired to survive and thrive. Like
yeah.
that is a core tenet of StoryBrand. It's the same
Mm-hmm.
with IFS, internal family systems. And so we've got these protectors, and the protectors can come in manager form. They're kind of
Mm,
proactively working on our behalf. And we have firefighter protectors that come in and go, whoa, something is happening right now. And yeah, I've got to take care of this
yeah.
immediately. Like, smother it, get rid of it, douse it down. We're not going there. And so there's manager protectors, proactive, and then firefighter protectors that are reactive.
Mm,
So, let's think about them. That's one of the core pieces of the internal family system that we have inside of us. Then we have exiles. That's the
mm,
second piece. Exiles are those parts of us that have experienced big T trauma, little t trauma.
yeah.
This can happen when we're really young. This can happen when we are adults. It
Mm,
doesn't matter. So our exiles can even be nonverbal exiles that have
mm,
never talked before. And so those exiles are typically hiding in the system somewhere because they do not want to be hurt again.
mm,
And they are being protected by the protectors, those
mm,
managers and those firefighters. And whenever something is happening on the outside of us where it feels similar to the experience that one of those exiles has had, then
yeah.
the exile goes, oh my gosh, and it gets activated. And those
Mm-hmm.
protectors, then instead of their role being really steady and like typical in our life, they like they respond, and their role might become really big, really
Yeah.
taking over, getting in the driver's seat of our
Mm.
life and being like, you know what, we're going to overthink this. Like, because I have an overthinking part. I don't know about you, but I have an overthinker that likes to get in the driver's seat when one of my exiles is being like, I don't know about this, April. And I'm like, don't
Right.
worry, let me get in the driver's seat and let me think. I'm going to think all the thoughts. I'm going to make sure that we're safe because I'm going to have thought about it.
Yeah.
And that calms that exile down some and protects it. But unless I can go to that exile, like get that protector to get out of the driver's seat, if I can go to that exile, then I can find out, what did this exile need? What does it need now? What does it want me to
Mm,
know? What does it want me to witness? What does it want? What what can we do for this exile now in the today realm
mm,
with my adult self in that driver's seat? Like, and I can help heal and unburden that exile so that those managers and firefighters do not have to get in the driver's seat of my life and take me somewhere, sometimes where I don't want to go at all. So we've got protectors,
that's so
we've
good.
got
Keep going. This is
firefighters,
so clear.
we've got protectors, we've got exiles, right? And
Yeah.
then the third tenet tenet, this is probably not the right word, it doesn't really matter. The third core concept, if you will, is this self energy that we have available to us. And
Mm.
self energy, Dick describes as all that good stuff that's just clear, it's truth. And he's got 8 C letter words that
Oh,
help
wow.
us wrap our minds around what self energy is. So I'm going to try to name them.
Oh,
I've
okay, I
been
love
trying to
this.
memorize them, just like the fruits of the spirit. You know, I had to memorize
I
the
was
fruits of the
gonna say.
spirit. I had to memorize the
Uh,
8 C's.
the 8 C's, I love it.
So the 8 C's are calm, clarity,
Mm.
compassion, connectedness, confidence. Let's see. Ooh, courage,
Mm.
creativity, and curiosity.
Well done. Those are great C's. Wow.
They're incredible C's. And
Mm.
and that energy, when we tap into that energy, we go, "Oh yeah. Oh, I can feel my overthinking part in the driver's seat of my life. Let me
Mm.
get curious as to why it's here right now. Overthinking part. Why is this overthinking part in the driver's seat right now? I'm activated. What's going on? And then we use that self energy to help us unblend. A listener, I'm taking my hands, and like clasping them together with the fingers all around each other. Like that's what it's like when we're blended with one of
Yeah.
our protective parts and we
Mm.
can't get space from it, and
Mm.
it's in the driver's seat of our life, and we're going, I didn't think that we were going to go down this road. And if we
Yeah.
can get in the driver's seat, we're able to unblend from that part and lead that part with that good self energy. And also we can go to those exiles and help them heal, and let those protectors step back from doing their job. They've been so exhausted because they've been doing their job for so long in a lot of
Mm.
cases. And then we're able to step in and go, hey, don't worry, I've got this. Let's go to this exile. Let's give this exile what it needs. Let me nurture this exile and reframe the story, or even
Mm.
release all of that energy that's been stored with this exile. Let's release it out into the elements,
Mm.
um, and give it a different story is
Wow.
what we're doing. So those are the 3 kind of core pieces of internal family systems, just to kind of help you
Mm.
think it through,
Yeah.
in your own way.
So, I mean, this is so wild. This is mind-blowing to me because you're describing, like, you're giving these names to parts of ourselves, and it can feel a little strange. Like, okay, this sounds a little weird. Like that there are
Yeah.
these parts inside me, and this part is doing this, and this part is doing that. But you're really describing what I think all of us experience in different ways. Like, why am I reacting in this moment in such a weird way? Like, why did I blow up, or why did I get so quiet, or why did I withdraw in this relationship? And it's tied to things that we've experienced that we've not dealt with, and it can be really hard to get at that thing that we haven't dealt with, and that part of us that has been affected, and so on. And so even though the language you're using sounds very foreign to my ears,
Yes,
you're what
understandable.
you're but what you're describing is like, it's such a true like human experience, like regardless of your worldview or your thoughts about therapy or whatever it might be. Like, you're describing what happens and what we see other people do. Like, I said this, or I was in this relationship, and then this happened, then all of a sudden the person like acted so weird, they were so reactive, or they were so, it didn't seem like themselves, or whatever it might be. And it can be hard to understand, others, let alone ourselves, or ourselves, let alone others. So I just,
Yes.
it's interesting. Like this is a model that enables people to kind of sort through why they do what they do. How do you go back and deal with something that is in the past? Maybe the people that hurt you are not around. How do you process that? How do you move forward and at the same time be honest about the reality of what's taken place and how that shaped you?
You got it. You're exactly right. It is a self-awareness building tool,
Mm.
and I'm sure that there are people out there that have a skeptical part that are going, this might not be for me. Understandable. Like,
Yeah.
we are so grateful for the skeptical parts, for all of the parts, all of the managers and the firefighters and those exiles. Like, we're grateful for all of them because they are our human experience and they've all
Yeah.
been working really hard on our behalf. Like, this
Mm.
is our internal family that is, it is keeping our best interest in mind,
Mm. Yeah.
even whenever the parts are doing things that we do not want them to do, like
Mm.
having addictions. You know,
Yeah.
those are firefighters. Like, I have a firefighter part that goes, um, oh no, this exile is not feeling worthy, so therefore I'm going to work and I'm
Oh,
going to get
wow.
on the pickleball court and I'm going to learn to play and I'm going to play
Yeah.
for 8 hours. It's like, oh, thank you
Interesting.
so much for getting in the driver's seat.
Mm.
um, that helps, alert me that
Yeah.
I've got someone inside that needs some attention. And going inward is a very courageous thing to do. It
Yeah.
is very, I will not say it's easy work
Mhm.
at all, but it is some of the most freeing for me, also
Mm.
because I now understand other people so much better because I just go, I'm if I'm looking at other people's behavior, I go, "Oh, that's just a part that they've got."
Yeah.
And I have compassion for
So it actually helps you be
whatever.
sympathetic towards other people in a new way.
Yes,
Wow.
yes, because I'm able to go, "This isn't about me. This is
Mhm.
about them." and
Mhm.
and if I'm in relationship with somebody and I want to learn how our parts are interacting and why we're
Mhm.
activating each other,
Mhm.
then, like, my husband and I, we go see a therapist who uses this model with couples,
Oh,
and
cool.
we just slow it way down and we get to know, we just talk about, okay, this is the scenario where we're super activated. What's going on? Who's here? And then we let those protective parts come out and they tell us what's going on. And we're like, of course, this is happening. This makes so much sense. And when we can come from that good self energy, that
Mm.
calm, that clarity, that compassion, that
Mhm.
all of that comes out, and we're able to sit with each other and see each other so much more clearly as well.
Mm.
And that helps our protectors step back
Mm.
and get out of the driver's seat and go, oh, this, of course, of course.
Wow. One of the things that sounds so different to me that I'm not used to is the compassion that I hear you speaking with towards these different parts of ourselves, because I think, well, in a lot of different places in just the general, you know, secular world, it's like there's kind of like the diet mindset. This is the bad food. This is the, these are those parts of yourselves that you need to get rid of, or you need to crush or whatever. And then I'm even thinking, like, from a religious background, I used kill language, put to death these parts of yourselves and, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. And, there are parts of us that we don't want to be driving us, but you just you're speaking about this so differently. It's not that, okay, here are the bad parts of yourself that you need to get rid of. You're actually saying that all these different parts, they have an understandable role. And when we show compassion toward them, we actually can understand ourselves better. And that's actually part of the healing process. Is that right?
100%, 100%. Dick Schwartz wrote a book called No Bad Parts. It's
Mm,
called No Bad Parts. And I am learning more and more that there are no bad parts. Their agenda is to protect the system in some way, and there's a reason for it. And it's
mm,
because there's something hurt inside of us. That adage, like hurt people,
yeah.
it's that makes sense because we
Mm-hmm.
do. We've got these traumas that have happened to us in our human
Mm-hmm.
experience that these protectors just come in and they're just like, never again.
Yeah.
Never again will I let this happen. And that is
Mm-hmm.
an understandable job. Like,
Mm,
it is just so understandable. And that compassion crank up is one of the it's one of the fastest ways to self
mm-hmm.
energy for sure,
Interesting.
is just to know, oh, this is not a bad part of this person I'm interacting with.
Mm-hmm.
This is not
Mm-hmm.
a bad part of me that's
Yeah.
coming up. Um, why is this part here? That's the other tool, curiosity. Curiosity is
Mm,
probably one of the easiest pieces of self energy to access within yourself. Because if you can get curious about something enough,
yeah.
like, why is this happening? What's going on? It gives you just enough space to go,
Yeah.
this is not me.
Mm-hmm.
This is a part of me. This is not my identity.
Mm-hmm.
This is not just who I am. It's like, no, this is
Right.
just like a part that is playing its role so well in my life.
Yeah.
How, if I can just get curious about it, a little bit of space gets
Mm.
created and I'm not so blended with that part. And then I can get to know it and understand it.
So if you're too quick to make something an identity, then you do really feel stuck there. It's like, that's who I am. I always have to do that. There's no potential for change. Whereas if you can see it and acknowledge, yes, it's a part of me. Here's why it's a part of me. Here's the role it's playing.
Yeah.
Then it no longer has to be your whole identity, and there's the possibility for growth beyond it.
Yes.
That's really
Absolutely.
encouraging. That's actually so.
Yeah. Yeah, isn't it? It's like,
Yeah,
it's
that's really
another
encouraging.
reason, like, why I'm drawn to the model, because it's like,
Mm,
oh yeah, like, we don't have to be wretches,
yeah,
like, we're not full of bad things. Like,
yeah,
we are full of goodness and good parts that are just working so hard on our behalf, and they are here to
yeah.
help.
Talking about going and getting past those protectors, those reactions or patterns or whatever that protect those exiled parts of us, which you said are exiled because of difficult things that happened, big T, small T trauma. Um, the way that you've explained it to me, as we did a session together, which I really appreciated and I found really helpful, but that there was the process of trying to get past my kind of explainer part. I was like, well, I think it's because of this, or I think it's because of my mom, or I think it's because and actually interacting with that part of me, which in my case was like a young version of myself. And what I want to get at here is this question of, like, what difference does it make? Like, if I pretend or to have this conversation with this young version of myself that was hurt at a certain moment in time and so on, like, the past is the past, you can't change the past. We're here right now. What difference does it make if I go back and interact with that part of myself and understand something and, as you put it, change the story. Like, why does that matter? Or why does that help
Mm.
me?
Mm. The thing that's coming to my mind is Dr. Becky Kennedy. Do you know who she is?
I don't.
She's like, I think that like her one liner that people call her is like the millennial, parent whisperer or something, or, I don't know. But she basically helps parents be sturdy parents. And she uses
Hmm.
internal family systems to go to their kids whenever they feel like they have, because parenting is so hard
Yeah.
and it activates so many parts, and we lash out at our kids, and we hate that we've done that, because we're
Yeah.
looking at this kid that we love so much.
Right.
And so she has done a TED talk recently on
Hmm.
repair,
Hmm.
and that's what this is. It matters to go back to these young parts of us,
Hmm.
or even adult parts of us that have been
Yeah.
hurt, and do a repair that they didn't get from
Hmm.
whatever situation that they were in.
Hmm.
Um, and that repair, I love the term she used for it the other day. She was talking about it on a podcast. She was like, I'm going to go snatch the shame out of my kid because it doesn't belong with that kid.
Wow.
And so I'm going to go snatch it out of there. And that's what we're doing. We're going to these parts and we're snatching out any shame or guilt or fear or whatever it is that activates them so much.
Hmm.
And we give them that different story so that it can literally be different inside of our body,
Wow.
moving forward, so that when we encounter another situation that is similar,
Hmm.
that part goes, oh, yeah, new pathway. There's a
Yeah.
new way to experience this. You know, Josh is here.
Yeah.
Like Josh and his self energy is here. The other part of self energy is it can never be damaged,
Hmm.
it can never be tainted or taken away. That self energy is with us all throughout our life and
Hmm.
it is available.
Hmm.
And so being able to use that self energy and show up in those moments and change the literal neuro pathways,
Wow.
instead of it being the like carved rut
Hmm.
that exiled part feels,
Hmm.
and that story being the same over and over again. If we can go to the young part and say, hey, instead of that rut, let's bushwhack together
Hmm.
with a machete a new path.
Right.
And then whenever this happens again, we will bushwhack it again. We'll take because things are going to grow over that path,
Hmm.
because it's new. No problem. I've got the machete here. When this happens again, we'll bushwhack again until that new pathway is so much more clear, and the old pathway is like, no way, I don't want to go there again.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in
Yeah.
that.
That's such a helpful answer. Um, those old stories can have so much power and impact in the present. It's like it's easy to say, "Oh, well, that was in the past. That was when I was young," or I don't think about it. I've moved on from it, or whatever it might be. But the truth is that believing or viewing that moment or that experience in a certain way is having like real world present implications.
Yeah.
And so it just makes, even though it sounds strange, and I think it probably, these ideas might seem weird to some people, it makes so much sense to me. And I've, even as you're talking, I just am thinking about how, and my own ideas about faith and religion have shifted, but I really think that this is like, if there's like something good and powerful about religious belief, it's kind of doing what we're talking about on a mass scale.
Yeah.
because I think about the Christian faith, and it's basically saying, okay, here are all these, you know, moments in your life that you can never, make up for or change. We're going to rewrite this story by you believing that this person took all the punishment and guilt of that and now it's off of you. Now, I love that story. I think it's beautiful. I have so much respect for my Christian friends, but to the outside, people are going to be like, "What? You just think believing something that happened whatever 2000 years ago is going to change anything blah blah blah." But even just from a psychological perspective, I really think that no, that can have a powerful impact of rewriting your own story, even if it's happening on a mass
Mhm.
scale and whatever. And I feel like internal family systems is taking that same principle and going back to different parts of yourself in different moments and extending grace and rewriting the story and saying, no, there's another way to look at this. And that has freeing effects in the way that you live today.
You got it. You got it. And you probably hear the term a lot, like healing generational trauma.
Yeah,
You probably hear that a
I
lot.
have heard
And
that.
that is like a big piece of this as well, because so much of these parts are handed down. So many of these managerial strategies
Mm,
or firefighter strategies have been
yeah.
learned from people in our lineage.
Because you watch your
And
parents
you got
manage
it.
and firefight in those ways, and you do the same
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Interesting.
you got it. And so this work, doing this work, helps heal that family lineage
Wow.
and gives more self energy to the next generation. And it truly is
Mm,
incredible. And Dick Schwartz, like his thing that he wants to be doing the most right now, because I mean, he's pulled. I mean, people would just utilize his time for all kinds of things.
yeah.
The thing he loves doing the most is helping massive amounts of people lay down cultural burdens
Wow.
that have been passed down, and that way bigger change can happen, right? Because it
Incredible.
is
Yeah.
absolutely all within us, but like if we can get groups of people
Right.
to also go, oh, let me lay that firefighter strategy down,
Yeah.
then we're going to have more peace within our whole world system. We're all connected. We're all, affecting each
Mm,
other whenever we're interacting. And so, yeah, it is. You're putting together pieces that resonate with me, that resonate with Dick Schwartz. Absolutely.
how did you first come across internal family systems, and what was the like what drew you to it in your first encounter?
Yeah, my first encounter was Dr. Becky Kennedy was on the We Can Do Hard Things podcast with
Very cool.
Glennon
Yeah.
Doyle and Abby Wambach and Amanda. And she came on and just talked about the model and explained it because um, Glennon has been using it in her eating disorder recovery work.
Beautiful.
And so she wanted to bring Dr. Becky Kennedy on um, to just introduce the model to people. And when I heard it, I was similar to you, like, this matches my lived experience.
Yeah.
Like, this is something that really makes sense to me because I'm somebody who's been in therapy for about 5 years now.
Mm,
Um, and I've done talk therapy. I've done psychodrama. I've done all different kinds of therapy, and all of them have like built upon each other.
yeah.
Again, that foundation, and then kind of building other building blocks. And this one has come along at just the perfect time, of course, as it does, and it really helps me because it's also something where I drop into my body.
Mm,
I've done somatic therapy, and that's very much, just going inside and listening and finding pieces of your body, which I understand skeptical parts, if any skeptical parts are out there. Like I did not have any understanding of any of this stuff not very long ago. And but yeah, internal family systems does similar things where we're dropping in and we're finding where does that part hang out
Interesting.
inside of our body?
That
Where is that protective
there's like a
part?
physical manifestation or a physical location.
Yes.
So, like the
Yes.
famous book, The Body Keeps the Score. It's like the body's keeping the score, so how do you actually address the that scorekeeping?
You got it. You got it. And so yeah, that's been really helpful to me. So that was where I first learned about internal family systems. And then I just became really curious about it
Mm,
and more curious about it. I kept listening to podcasts about it. And I then, was talking with my therapist friend who was like, well, they have an online course. And I went, oh, they do? That's cool. Let me check into that. Because I kept applying for the certifications at the lotteries for the certifications and not getting in. So I was like, well, let me take the online course. It was a 6-month course. It had live calls with Dick Schwartz, the founder. It had live calls
wow.
with the teachers within the course. And I had a little peer group that formed of other people who were going through the course. And we started meeting and doing this work and practicing and holding space for each other. And then I hired a IFS coach for myself. And then my husband and I, we work with an IFS couples therapist. So like I I mean, I am an all-in kind of person, like a person that plays pickleball for 8 hours a day when it is not my job. So so this is in line with some of my protective parts that love to learn and want to know everything and
Yeah,
want to really get in there and like give me all the tools.
I love
and
it. I think
so
that's
yeah, so
fantastic.
that yeah, that's been the journey.
What's your vision for yourself in the coming days and years with the tools that you're learning and the training that you're getting? What would you like that to look like?
Well, oh man, the coming years, I can see myself having so much more ability to put energy
Hmm.
towards love,
Hmm.
loving myself, loving others, loving this world because of the healing that is
Hmm.
happening. Like so much of internal family systems and throughout the online course and throughout our calls and all of that, they're just like, do the work yourself. Like
Yeah.
this is important for you to do. Like everybody needs to do this for themselves
Hmm.
because we're all connected.
Yeah.
And the more I can show up with compassion and create that self energy and understand when my parts have an agenda or coming with an agenda,
Yeah.
my protective parts, and it allows me to get curious and go to those parts that need healing and just bring about more peace and love within myself.
Hmm.
And then that also allows me to have more of that energy as I sit with others, as I relate to others, as I work with others. So yeah,
That's
that's
wonderful.
kind of,
Do
yeah.
you want to coach people and be a facilitator yourself?
Yeah, I it's something that I am doing and I'm doing it very organically
Hmm.
right now. I'm not doing it like very on purpose.
Hmm.
Um but like people will come and they might have something where they go, "Well, I actually, April, am struggling because I have these opportunities at work and I don't quite know how to step into them because every time I'm trying to step into one of these opportunities at work, like alarm bells are going off inside of
Wow.
me and it makes me nervous. And I've got this presentation that's coming up and I don't know what to say. And so it's like, well, I've got I've got bandwidth to help them get curious and understand what's going on with the alarm bells.
Hmm.
And then we can also structure their talk and like what they're going to say using the story brand
That's
framework.
amazing.
So like I'm utilizing the skill sets that I have,
Yeah.
and I'm like totally like I love collaborating with people. I love dancing. I love so many things in life, that I'm just like a very open
That's
space
amazing.
to yeah, working with people, hanging out with people,
It seems
doing
like
different
both of
things.
those tools that you've become very knowledgeable about, StoryBrand and IFS, they really bring you alongside others in a really meaningful, intimate, person to person kind of a way. You know, when it comes to like
Yeah.
the story you're trying to put out into the world, the message you're trying to share, and then when it comes to processing your own story and figuring out what's holding you back and those kinds of things, like those are really vulnerable. I would just call them like precious, moments to share with another
Yes.
human being. Is that kind of what you're
Yeah.
drawn to in life in general? That kind of
Oh yeah.
interaction?
People,
Yeah.
let's hang out. Like I love it. I love getting to know people. I love helping bring freedom
Yeah.
to people and watching them
Hmm.
just do that exile and be more who they want to be in the world,
Yeah.
and create more of what they want to create in the world, and not be held back by fears
Yeah.
or whatever the alarm bells might be.
Is there a specific example that you could share? I mean, you don't have to share something from your own life. It could be you know, something that you an example you found somewhere else, but I would love to have you walk me through a story of the IFS model being used
Hmm.
where it's like, here's the behavior that I'm struggling with, or I don't know why I'm reacting or, doing this, and then how this model helped someone pinpoint
Mm.
that exile and interact with that and so on.
Yes. So,
I don't mean to put you on the spot. Again, you could
no,
you
no,
could make
no.
one up if you wanted to. That would be fine.
What I'm doing is I'm going inside right now,
Mm,
and I'm going to see who volunteers as tribute.
okay, I love it.
And let's see if any parts volunteer to have their story told, because that's another thing. Consent
Yeah.
is kind of a big deal
Mm.
in this internal family systems world.
Like even when it's
Um,
your own part, it's like don't be too quick to just expose and put something out into
yeah,
the
like
world.
I need to check in with these parts because
Mm,
they some of them want to be hidden.
yeah.
Some of them are not interested
Mm,
in sharing. And some of them are like, yeah, no problem. And that might just be where, I'm currently at right now,
yeah.
um, like where these parts are right now. They
Yeah.
might be more willing to be shared later. But like right now,
Yeah.
let's just
Interesting.
see who comes up. So, what's interesting is, so I have a part that I've been getting to know, and it's a part that like at my throat a lot of the time.
Mm. You feel it in that part of your
And
body.
yes, I
Okay.
feel it in my throat,
Mm.
and it sometimes it looks like a wrestler. Sometimes it's like a knife at my throat.
Wow.
Sometimes it's a um like a faucet, like flow gauge, like where it'll this is how much flow we're willing to let out, and
Mm.
this is how much we're willing. And so when one of my exiles gets activated, this part at my throat, it manifests at a different level depending on the threat level. So and it will knock my voice back to a whisper, and I will not be able to talk at full volume. And it is bonkers.
That is so fascinating.
But it makes so much sense as I've been getting to know these exiles that it's been protecting. It's like, course, you, of course, you don't want me to say the things because of how much shame these parts are carrying. They do not want to be exposed. And so this protector part is it's a silencer at some times. It's okay, you can let this much information out. Okay, this can be, full force. So as I've been talking today on this podcast, this protector has not come into play at all. It's cool with me talking. It's cool with us having a conversation. It's cool with me sharing. But if I started to share more about the things that I am ashamed of and share those stories from those exiles, it like I can feel it coming on right now, just even like talking just a little bit about what that might be about. I can feel it coming in. So that is interesting, that part came up, that it was willing for me to talk about it, because it is a silencer part.
That's so interesting. And so it's those moments where you're touching on topics that tie back to feelings of shame or whatever that might be.
Oh yeah. Or if I'm in a scenario with another person and I'm feeling that same shame, like the scenario I'm in is causing me to like have that countenance, like, and I can feel my body like go down into that like shame posture, and like then this part kicks in and it's just like, we're not saying anything. We're not saying anything. Or whenever I try to express myself, it just is so, like I do, like it is involuntary. It's not me thinking about it. It's just an instant response. And that is a clue to me that, whoa, this is part of one of those exiled parts that still needs some attention. It really needs attention today. Have I already bushwhacked a trail for this one? Is this one different than, like, what's going on in this scenario to make this happen right now? And so me knowing that, and then also like my husband knowing that, like if he ever hears my voice drop down to a whisper, he gets clued in that, oh, this is, what's going on here? Let's get curious about it. So it's just really helpful information.
And so that information about that protector that's manifesting itself in even kind of silencing your voice clues you in to ask questions about this part of yourself that's exiled, and then what happens next? I mean, like that can lead you down a path of saying, oh, there's shame around, whatever topic because this happened to me in the past, and processing that is part of the freeing.
You
Is that
got
right?
it.
Okay.
You got it. Because then it's like, oh, is this something that I am experiencing and I need to do the same thing, that the same unburdening again for this part that I've done in an IFS session
Mm.
with a coach or a
Mm.
therapist or whatever?
Yeah.
Or is this something new
Yeah.
where it's like, I need to explore this because this feels similar, but it feels different in some
Mm.
way. Let me drop in, see if I, I can get information on my own, but it is infinitely easier to be sitting with somebody.
To have
And
someone who is helping
and
you to ask the questions.
yes,
Yeah.
to hold the space. And a lot of the times all that's needed is their self energy, and then my self energy there's enough
Mm-hmm.
between the two of us that my self energy kicks in, and in a session my self energy knows what to do and knows what questions to ask and knows what this exile needs and where to go,
Mm.
and the person sitting across from me can really, just, you know be co-pilot
Mm-hmm.
almost. And then there are sessions like the one I had this Wednesday with my coach where I came in so hot. I came in with full overwhelm,
Mm.
and I was not able to access self, and my coach had to use what's called direct access. That's a different
Mm.
kind of thing,
Yeah.
where it's like there's not enough self energy present in the person that is doing,
Interesting. Yeah.
in the session. Let me help this person get some
Mm.
direct access. Um, or she also helped me just with some grounding techniques to
Mm.
just, like, you just got to get grounded again.
Mm.
We've got to get you back into the driver's seat
Yeah.
so that you can then see what's actually going on and who's here. And so yeah, sessions are different depending on what's going on, and parts will come up on their own
Mm.
in the order that they're supposed to come up. Like, you got to deal with whatever protectors are there first. And so just know that if you're showing up in an internal family system session, whatever is coming up first is supposed to come up first. Like, it's not like the therapist is like, we're trying to get over
Oh,
to this
interesting.
specific
Yeah.
thing. Like, you might not get to exiles for a while. You might have to you might have to talk to and get to know and build trust with these protectors that have been, going hard for so long.
Yeah.
And then the system can be, trustworthy enough that you have enough self energy to go to the exiles after that. So it all happens
Mm.
in the order it's supposed to happen in.
So fascinating.
Yeah.
I I have a question that kind of has a little bit of a backstory to it, which is
Yeah.
uh what sparked my curiosity about internal family systems is earlier this well, last year, last summer, I went back to the Maryland, Virginia area where I lived for 17 years. I was there for
Mm-hmm.
um, as a pastor for a long time, so it kind of represents my former life. And I went back and interacted with all these dear friends and saw a bunch of people. It was really beautiful. It was a really great trip. But one of the nights I stayed with dear friends Kenneth and Valerie, and Kenneth and I pastored together. He's still a pastor. His son is best friends with my son. And the three of us stayed up late one night talking. And, we've just been through a lot with faith and with churches and all these kinds of things. And Valerie began to share how she was being so helped by internal family systems, and she was meeting with a therapist that used this. And just as she was talking about this with so much excitement, um, I was so intrigued because we come from the same church background, and that church background was completely suspicious of all therapy. you know,
Yes.
like therapy was the enemy
Yeah.
because really the only appropriate way to think about ourselves is that we're sinners. Jesus died for our sins. The gospel, if we access the gospel and believe the gospel, then that just fixes everything. We're forgiven and we can move
Mhm.
forward and change and so on. So to try to access any other kind of model was really viewed as dangerous, was essentially forbidden
Yeah.
in that context. And so to have Valerie, who is a believer and who loves Jesus, and she's talking about this internal family systems, I was blown away. I was like, really? I'm so fascinated by this. And so all that to say, how does internal family systems square with Christian teaching about the self? Because you mentioned earlier, like pastors use this, and I get the sense
Mhm.
that there are a lot of Christians that are really excited about this model. Um, and then I guess the follow-on question is, does it help in particular people who have come from very conservative, or I don't know the best word, restrictive types of, forms of religion and so on. So that's a big question, but I'm just like wanting to understand
Mm.
how this model particularly does it particularly help someone from that background, or what's the
Why are you asking this question? Why this curiosity question?
I'm asking this question because I guess I'm a little surprised that so many Christians are using it.
Mhm.
And then I'm asking because that's the background I come from.
Mhm.
And so I guess I'm wanting to benefit from it myself, but I'm wanting to understand more, like why is there this adoption by some Christians, and how does that, because it makes sense to me on one level, but on another level, when I think back to my old beliefs, I think I'd be very like intimidated by or a little put off by like this idea that there are parts of us, and even like like what you were doing, calling up a different, not calling up, but like in a sense
Mhm.
accessing a different part of yourself, like that's so different from the Christian ways of thinking about myself. And so I guess I'm just like fascinated, like how are these worlds coming together?
Yes, yes. Well, I cannot speak for anybody but myself,
Sure.
of course. I would not try to speak on behalf of lots of Christians. I would speak on behalf of myself because I too grew up in a very fundamental. I was in the Church of Christ, preacher's daughter, so at church all the time. Um, and my views on faith have, changed drastically over the years. And so for myself, this is a model that does pull out truth.
Mm,
That's maybe the best way that I can describe it
mm,
because it is not something I have to think about. It's information I'm accessing. And when I access it within my body, I don't have to intellectualize it. I know that it's true.
wow.
And that is so different from my experience growing up in the church, where I was intellectualizing this God that gave all these rules. And, but then there's Jesus and he's the savior. And I'm a wretch, but I don't feel like a wretch. I don't want to feel like a wretch. I've got all this shame. Like, this
Mm,
is confusing. Like, this is confusing. I had a really confused part about all of this. And I still have exiles that I'm still going to and healing over this. And whenever I'm doing internal family systems work, there is room for all of the truth that I love about what I learned growing up. And there is the self energy helps me determine what doesn't fit and
Mm,
what does.
mm.
And I know that me saying all of this, like I can just hear, I know, like I know people, whatever you were thinking, like I get it. Like I get it. Whatever you were thinking, I get it. Because I think that I have loads of understanding and compassion for people who are in the church structures, who love them and they work for them.
Yeah.
And I go, yeah, like I get why people are drawn to this and why this works for them. And like, yeah, go for it. Like use it, utilize it. Whatever
Mm-hmm.
we need to do to have more peace and love in our life, like yes, yes to that.
Yeah.
And I get it if people are in the deconstruction realm where they're like, I'm confused. I have to pick up every piece of the thing that I learned and assess,
Yeah.
does this fit in my life or does it not? And like, so I get that realm. And then I get on a very beautiful level this information that I downloaded that I know to be true because I felt it, I was connected to it. It was a spiritual experience.
Mm.
It is my new understanding of who God is because that's I've been in 12-step recovery as well
Mm.
in ACA. And one of the things that you do is you create a God of your own understanding because that's what we've got to do.
Mm.
And by doing that, it's allowed me the freedom to be who I am in the world and to not have a gotcha God
Yeah.
and to let things come in ways that of course I was not taught,
Right.
but that really work for me and they
Mm-hmm.
work for my God of my own understanding, which is love, 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 love. You know, it's just so much love. So I'm curious if any of that resonates with the part of you that is wondering or helps that part of you that's like trying to make sense
Yes, it
of
does.
the Christians who are using this.
Yeah, it really it helps a lot. It helps a lot. I really appreciate you sharing your own experience and um, that intellectualizing of everything I can really relate to. And I think that's what I'm worn out by
Mm-hmm.
and what has made it difficult for me to even that process of picking up all the things and figuring out what fits and what I believe and that journey just like oh gosh I don't even have the energy for it. I'm just trying to survive in
Right.
life in general and I
Yeah.
think those muscles of like is this doctrinally accurate and is does this match up in this way and does it align with all these different things. uh I'm tired. I'm just too tired to do that. I don't want to do that anymore. So when you're explaining, like, in a very physical, real, personal uh, way of accessing things that you know to be true, that's very appealing to me, and it resonates with me in terms of experiences that I'm having these days.
Yeah.
So, and
Yeah.
but I also just love the compassion, like the compassion that you're modeling towards different parts of yourself. I feel that you're extending towards other humans. And I just think that's beautiful. Like you even being able to say like, okay, I might not, embrace this same way of living that this group of people is doing, but if it works for them, great, good for you. Love, I'm sending love your way. I'm not going to
Yes.
necessarily do that. But I feel like I'm growing in that kind of compassion in a lot of different directions to be like, you know what? It's hard being a human and we're all like trying to piece things together and we're trying to make a life and different beliefs and systems hold us up and keep us together in different moments And I'm just tired of the mindset that says, "I've got this and it's the best, and I'm gonna convince everybody else, or I'm gonna look down on everybody else." So I'm tired of that, but I'm also, I also really don't want someone else forcing something on me. So I just love the spirit with which you share all of this. I just think it's beautiful.
Oh, thank you. It's have not been in this spot like this whole time. If you had talked to me even 2 years ago,
Yeah.
I would have told you I can't step foot in a church building.
Wow.
Like I can't do it
Mm,
because my body physically feels like I'm crawling out of my skin being here. Like that is where I was at 2 years ago. And yeah, like I I resonate so deeply with the part of you that's exhausted
mm,
with the intellectualizing and the fact checking and the trying to figure out exactly what is theologically safe and sound.
yeah.
And like I have those parts and they
They are
are
taking a nap. Yeah.
exhausted. Yeah,
Uh,
and sometimes and there are some points in my journey I had to just that was one of the strategies was
mm,
I'm not going to think about anything.
yeah.
Like I'm not going to think about this at all because I literally can't
Mhm.
anymore. It's just taking up so much of my bandwidth of my life and I've
Mhm.
got to just take a break for a second.
Yeah.
And that is okay too
Yeah.
because like you said, being a human is hard.
Mm.
And I'm curious, have you listened to the Holy Hurt podcast
The Holy
by
Hurt? No.
Hillary McBride?
Oh, I love Hillary McBride. Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
she's a BC,
It's
British Columbia person, so
Yes,
mhm.
and her Holy Hurt podcast was so so beautifully done,
Mm,
and it names a lot of things.
mm,
And the naming of things I found to be very helpful in going, oh, oh, whenever I was a kid, and there's this gotcha God and he's omnipotent. There's literally no place I can go to be away from this God. I'm scared out of my mind. Like,
Uh,
like her just naming that for me
wow,
went,
yeah,
okay, yes.
yeah,
Okay, this makes sense why I was so scared and why I was so confused and why
right.
this didn't work for me. And so she does that in different you know elements
Yeah.
of the church systems and just those naming of things has been super helpful for me in my parts and it came to me right
I'm
now
so
so I
glad that
just
you
thought I
shared
would
that.
share that.
I haven't listened to that podcast, but I was just thinking how, your description of that experience of going into a church, not being able to go into a church a few years ago. I just talk to so many people that are in that category, and some of them
Yeah,
are no longer believe. Many of them are, still very devout followers of Jesus. But I just think it ties back to the earlier part of our conversation and how our bodies store whatever you want to call it. If you don't want to use the word trauma, just things have gone down in churches. And when you walk into a church, service or a church building, there's a physical reaction. And we can, people could apply that to going into an old home or being around a certain person or whatever it might be. There are lots of different scenarios, but it just it really draws me back to the principles that you've been sharing this whole time. And what I get excited about with internal family systems is it's a model, it's a language, it's a structure that can give a pathway for people to say, what do I do with that? Like
yeah,
what's happening there? Why is that? And the goal doesn't have to be to fix yourself or to get back into church or whatever it might be, but just understanding. And if there are things that you want to do that you're bumping up against something and you're not able to move forward, like there are tools and there are people that are asking questions and that, therapists that want to help and coaches. And so I don't know. I just think that's really
Yeah.
hopeful. I think there are so many people on their own individual journeys, and April, you just being willing to share so openly yours, and then also exert yourself like in learning, which I'm benefiting from, and people listening are benefiting from. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for both those things. I'm just really, really
Yes.
grateful for that.
Well, thank you for your curiosity, right? Like your curiosity lends itself for you to talk to other humans about what's working for them and then share it with others. And I just have so enjoyed our
Oh, me too.
conversation
Me
and I'm
too.
so glad that you reached out. It's been a blast.
Well, I hope we get to chat again. And for people who are wanting to just follow along more with April Sunshine Hawkins, how can they do that? What's the best way?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you want to contact me directly, then you could just email me. I don't have a website, which is so funny because I'm on the Marketing Made Simple podcast. It's all about marketing yourself and telling people like what you do and whatnot. But because I'm in such an open space and I'm not doing anything super on purpose, I don't have a
I
website. I don't
love
have
it.
like
I love
a
it. That's like the cool kid thing to do, is not have a website. I actually
I guess.
love that you don't have a website. It's like the cobbler's children not having shoes too, probably, right? Like
Yeah, yeah. So I'll give Josh my email and you can put it in the show notes and
okay,
people can
amazing.
email me if they want to
Your email will
get in
be in the
touch.
show notes. I love that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
great. April, thank you.
Thank you, Josh, and thank you, listener out there listening.
Thanks for listening to the Clear and Loud podcast. I'm your host, Josh Harris. Our producer is Pam Cameron, and this episode contains music by Jeremy Yaddo at Music for Podcasts. If you like what you hear, give us a boost by subscribing or leaving a review on Spotify or Apple or wherever you listen. We'd also love your feedback on today's episode. Or if you have a question you'd like addressed on a future episode or a guest you'd like us to consider, email us at hello@clearandloud.com. You can also shoot us a direct message on Instagram. Our handle is @clearandloud. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.